Hello, everyone. Welcome into Syntax Weekly, our new weekly live show. We're going to be hanging out, talking about web dev stuff. We've got Scott and Wes with me here today. How you guys doing?
Stoked
Oh,
for
I'm doing
this.
good.
Nice. If you're watching live, let us know in the chat. This is our first time using this whole setup, so things could go wrong, but that's okay. We're here to figure it out. But yeah, say hello in the chat, and we'll get into it. So we've each brought one thing that we thought might be interesting, whether it's news or a new library or something like that. And we're gonna get into it. I guess at some point we're gonna ask for submissions from chat. That's gonna happen, right? In some way.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you guys have something that you want us to take a look at, drop it in the chat and we'll pick one of them and share it out. I think in future streams we'll have a way for people to vote and all that stuff. And all of the links that we'll be talking about in this episode will be available on the Syntax Daily Dev site. So if you are a Daily Dev user, check us out. We'll be posting all of our links in the Syntax Squad over there.
Nice. And I will mention, I guess if you share it in the chat, some of the live streaming services don't let you share links. So you just say the name of the thing that's interesting, whether it's news or a library or something. We'll find it.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're good at hunting down that kind of stuff.
This is fun, guys. We're live. We're live on the
I
internet.
know, yes, I know,
This
yes.
is great. I'm stoked to see it and stoked to get into our thing. Should we do the first item now?
Yeah, let's get into it. Wes has some very interesting news for us to talk about.
Yeah, this is one that came sort of out of nowhere and developed crazily over the weekend, which is Bun being rewritten in Rust relatively quickly and pretty unreal. So Bun, famously written in Zig, it's a JavaScript runtime. It uses something called JavaScript Core, which is the JavaScript engine behind Safari, right? And we had Jared on the show a couple of years ago, and he talked about how awesome Zig was and everything. And it seems like they've been having some issues with like memory management and seg faults, and just like all the pains around that. You know, everybody posts like, oh, Cloud Code runs on Bun. Obviously, they acquired them. So last week, like 5 days ago, somebody noticed, oh, there is this like what is it called? Why am I a branch? There's a branch on the Bun repo that said like, hey, this is like, we're gonna try to port it from Zig to Rust with Claude, right? And the idea was, it's very similar to how like the TypeScript was moved from TSC was moved from TypeScript to Go, where you simply just took every single file and converted it to the equivalent Rust file, you know, not changing how it works, not changing anything, simply just like rewriting the actual syntax of it in Rust. And it went from, this is just a test, seeing if we can do this with AI, everybody's overreacting, to 5 days later, if we do the Rust rewrite, this would be the last version in Zig. Jared has been posting, and he says that they're like at like 99% or something like that test case passing, which is absolutely unreal that you're able to do it. 1 million lines of Zig code ported to Rust that quickly.
Wow.
Bonkers.
It feels unexpected. Like I guess I always got the vibe from Zig that it was kind of not necessarily shaky ground to build on, but definitely an unusual choice, right? And to see this is, I don't know, is it validating in that regard, maybe?
Well, like nobody had heard of Zig before Bun came out and said, I'm writing a JavaScript. I'm writing a Node.js competitor in this language nobody has heard of. And then here we are, 3-4 years later, and starting to feel, I guess, the cracks of that. Not that Zig is not good, but the memory management and all of those like pain things are, I think, a lot easier to get around, right? Like Jared says, I am so tired of worrying about and spending lots of time fixing memory leaks and crashes and stability issues. It would be nice if the language provided more powerful tools preventing these things, right? You just want to move fast, add features, And then so much of his time is just spent on like, Bun just keeps crashing. Bun is eating all my memory.
I also love that somebody found this just by looking at, what was it, like Git history? They found a branch and figured out that they were working on it. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess that's the nature of like open source, but like it's super funny that
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't even an announcement. It was like, oh, we found that they're working on this.
Somebody found out they're poking at it. And quite honestly, aside from the fact that it's like moving to Rust, I think this is unbelievable that you can do something like this in 6 days. You know, like it's not like, oh yeah, like I just renamed variables and the way that we declare things. No, like it's passing a lot of the tests, and it's compiling. It's at a spot now where this is actually doable.
Yeah, I see a chat on Twitch saying slop rewrite. I mean, this is the era of slop forks. Whether or not you want to call this slop, I mean, it was very like AI assisted. So yeah, AI is involved. But yeah, but if you think about it, like Bun was born before like the dawn of like everything being written with AI. So like there's some serious engineering in there. And that is kind of what was being ported, right? So like a lot of the design decisions and architecture was made by a human, and then the AI is the thing that kind of like translated it. So
translating, yeah.
Someone said like, how is this different than Dino? Because like Dino is written in Rust, and he says it's never been about the language, right? It's all about the engineering and the approach and whatnot of actually tackling this, solving problems, the design. It's not about the actual syntax that is written or like the actual Rust compiler. Oh, it is about the Rust compiler because you now hopefully it won't crash as often, but I guess we'll see.
And Bun, I mean, Bun is unique for reasons beyond just being written in Zig or being fast. It has a lot of extra things in it that, you know, whether that they added the SQLite stuff. And what have they been adding recently? I feel like every single time I see something on Bun, they've added.
They're adding like a native image transform, which is
that's it.
Quite honestly, well needed. That's always such a huge pain of trying to just transform images inside of Node.js. You need to like, what's the one that we use in Node?
Sharp. Yeah.
Sharp. You got to get Sharp running, and then it doesn't work in Cloudflare workers like that, you know?
Yeah, that not having to deal with Sharp would be
a
nice life upgrade for sure.
I will say that this is a very good candidate for this type of rewrite because Bun has very few external dependencies, and it has an absolutely massive set of tests that you can test it against. Like that's ideal, right? If this was like built on top of something else, you know, if they use some existing library, like Dino uses Tokyo, which is the async Rust thing. They specifically said don't use that in here. If it was built on something, you'd have to also get all of those libraries ported over to Rust as well, or figure out how to implement it in a similar way. In this case, it's mostly just straight up code that doesn't have any dependencies, and it has a huge thing that you can test against.
I will say, man, slop forking in some regard, or even just migrating things.
Migrating
is something that AI is particularly good at if you have a good
We did a show on it.
Yeah, I know. I recently, last week, the fuel.co site, so FFF, how many, is there 4 Fs in fuel.co?
3.
This site is written in a bunch of bespoke custom templates. It's using several different languages and styles based on the different tools. And I was like, you know what? If we could just have this all in SvelteKit, we could manage it better. We could update it more. We could add new tools more likely. And so I took some time to rewrite this with AI into SvelteKit and just porting each individual tool over and really watching it, obviously, and approving everything. It was actually a very easy experience. And now we don't have these custom template code, and we have stuff that we could all work in to add new tools, so that way we can actually update this thing.
Did you deploy this already?
I have not deployed it, Wes.
Okay,
I wanted to, yes. But locally, it works beautifully. So, and it is the exact same. In fact, one of the things I had AI do was, before you mark each tool as being complete, pull both of them up in an agent browser and confirmed that they are exactly the same. And it was fantastic.
That's beautiful. Yeah, like for stuff that doesn't have a test case, simply just run them in parallel. Look at the output, look at the functionality. AI is great at that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is the age of the slot fork. But I will mention, like, in relevant news, Tanner recreated React. What does he call it? He's calling it a projection, not a slot fork.
Yeah.
A projection.
That's a cool name for that. Yes.
And I think it fits. So I think they called it Redact. But the idea was remove all the things from React that we don't really need for TanStack or for certain websites, or basically create a customizable build of React that only has the stuff we need.
Yeah.
And so it basically re-implemented React's API, and test suites were passing. I think this is also the era of like, how good are your test suites? Because like, yes, test suites are passing, but like, where's all the gaps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty neat. It's I guess a React fork, right? Or at least is compatible. Hono has something like this as well, right? Where you can use all of the hooks and the basics of React, but it's not built in React itself. And he also said, like, isn't that what Preact was? And like Preact is sort of like strayed from the path of being a React drop-in replacement, and it is no longer that's no longer a thing.
Yeah. I will mention, I guess, I mean, for end users of Bun, you don't have to even know that it was rewritten in Rust if they ship it. Like, if anything, like there's maybe less crashes, maybe it's a little faster. So end user, you don't have to worry. That's probably why they didn't make a big deal out of it until somebody found the actual branch for it. Because it's kind of like
totally in stealth. Imagine they just one day shipped it. By the way, we rewrote it in Rust.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I got here for the Bun thing. Anything else to add, or should we get on to the next one?
Yeah, so just to update people, what we're doing here is we each brought a link to share. We each brought either a project, a post, or some bit of news to share. We're going to be sharing those. And if you have something you want us to check out, drop it in the comments, drop it in the chat. We will pick an audience submission for us to look at the end. And again, all of the links that we'll be sharing will be available on the daily.dev syntax squad if you want to make sure you get those links later. This show's also, it's brought to you by Sentry, so check out Sentry. We are currently building a live streaming tool that was supposed to go live today, but sadly, I'm going to be diving into my Sentry all for the rest of today because, man, trying to launch your own tool in a couple of days right before your first live stream, definitely
with some obscure library no one's ever heard of.
You'll be hearing about it after today, so it won't be that obscure, Wes.
Yeah, totally relevant. I'll add a few more things. We're going to be live in person at Amsterdam, JS Nation Amsterdam. Yep. Yeah, so jsnation.com, you can get your tickets. The show that we're going to be doing is going to be free right before it, but if you're already attending the conference, we'd love to see you there. It's going to be on June 10th. We're working out the details, but be on the lookout for links to RSVP.
It'll be at syntax.fm/meetup to RSVP to it. It's not redirecting yet, but it probably will later today.
Nice.
Yes. Yes.
And shout out to all the people watching live too. I see a few familiar faces, but people also asking like, why haven't I been here before? This is the first one. This is our first weekly stream. We're going to try to do it every Monday in the same way. So thank you all for being here. Yeah.
And we have a really interesting kind of bespoke setup here. So if things are a little rocky, we're all still getting used to it. So, man, we'll have to go in depth on what we end up doing for this, because beyond just like the web tech that we're using, I think there's a lot of really fascinating things about
the overlays in
how we're
HTML,
streaming.
CSS, JavaScript are the coolest part. IMO.
The coolest part that no one is seeing currently.
No,
yes.
just you wait.
Yeah. Wait, just a second though. I think we can do. Can't we do this? Yeah. See, we have this overlay at least.
Let's
well,
show,
that's
let's show the folks the broken one. It's pretty good.
The one that says F. Oh, there we go. The ticker, for some reason, is having old data in it, and we cannot figure out how to clear OBS's data cache for this browser. Makes no sense. So
That's really
Love
cool
it.
though. Beautiful. And
Yeah.
it's buttery smooth. Like I was frames per second measuring it earlier today, and it was at like I think I was getting 120 frames a second on my MacBook.
that's some good FPS
Nice.
right there.
All right, CJ,
CJ.
what do you got?
What do I got? A thing. Here we go. Just a second. Or like we're in a work meeting. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
I'm talking about Remix 3. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory. You can look at their really cool landing page. And AI is involved here as well, which we'll get to. But Remix, it is a full stack framework. And the history of it is a weird and rocky one, right? You might have remember Remix.run. It came out kind of as a competitor to Next.js, and is also like the full stack framework, or was the full stack framework version of React Router. But then eventually Remix.run just became React Router. So now if you're using React Router version 7, you're kind of using the lineage of Remix. But now Remix version 3, which was announced about a year ago, is a complete rewrite, and they forked React, or like I don't know the details completely. Feel free to chime in if you do, but they are not using React. It's their own version of it. I don't know if they forked it or they wrote it completely from scratch. Maybe they
No,
forked
it's
Preact.
it's totally from scratch. It's
Yeah.
the only thing that is the same as React is the fact that it uses JSX as the templating language. But other than that, it's I wouldn't even use React in the same sentence as this. It's more of vanilla JS framework.
Yeah, and that's for me. I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. So first of all, they have a really cool landing page, which I'll show you. That's fun to look at. And then I built a site with it, which I'll show you. And it feels like they're pushing you towards to just use AI to build with it because this is the age of AI. But what if I don't want to use AI? What if I want to read the docs? I don't know. We'll get into that. Their site, super cool. I don't know how well it's coming across in terms of like FPS on stream, because this is probably going to be like kill the bitrate. Like
It looks good on stream. Yeah, it looks good on stream. In our backend tool, it does not look good. It looks like 1 FPS here. So, but I'm watching on YouTube. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, so they have a whole blog post about the rebrand. And so Tim Corino is the staff product designer, and they kind of talked about the lineage. They shared some screenshots of their Figma files. And the whole idea is like Remix is fast. And one thing I really like is they came up with branding for all of the internal components, right? They have like this auth logo and routing logo and data toolkit logo. Like all of these are custom designed by their design team for all the internal components. And as you scroll the site, you get a new, it's based on 3JS, a 3JS render. This is kind of like a model car kit parts thingy.
Yeah.
Kind of interactive with the mouse. It's super cool. And in terms of the code itself, so yeah, no React. If you were to write this same component in React, you would probably have like an on click. You maybe have like a use effect or something like that, or a use callback. They have this new prop called Mix. And this is where you can add styles, but you can also add like custom events on elements. So this basically says like when this button is clicked, copy to the clipboard. And then handle.update, I think, is like their internal state management type of thing, or like not state management, like, keeps everything in sync, their runtime of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to see that handle.update in a few different places.
Mix is interesting. I don't. What exactly is Mix doing here?
You can pass multiple things. So in the example site that I wrote, the AI, I didn't write the code. AI wrote the code, and it's just passing in CSS styles to Mix. But I mean, I think we'd have to dive into like their docs, and then there's like Remix UI.
Yeah,
and then
I think the idea with Mix is that it is very composable, meaning that like with React, if you have like a hook that does something, and then you want that hook functionality, but you want to like extend it, it's kind of tricky, right? You can put the hook in another hook, but it's kind of like a bit of a black box to edit that. One of the big ideas behind Remix is that you can add a whole bunch of stuff and sort of compose it into what you want, which is makes a lot of sense because like Ryan and Michael were the guys that brought us this whole idea of high order functions or composable components in React, and now they're sort of bringing that to us with just simply regular ass functions in this mix thing. I didn't see that this included styles mixed in out the same thing as well.
Well, you have access to the DOM node, it seems like. You know, it kind of reminds me of like Svelte attach. I don't know if it is, just at a glance here, where you have access to that DOM node. Am I crazy, or are the remix docs not searchable? I'm like trying to search these docs, and I cannot find the search box.
I am going to get into that because I actually think they don't want you to look at the docs. I think they want you to
look at the docs.
Me too, but I will say this: if any remix person is watching, my initial impressions are, I can't read the docs. I just have to ask AI, and it will find it in the docs, or it'll find it in the agent files. But I think like that's also one of the things that they're leaning into is like in the age of everything being written by AI.
Mm-hmm.
They're shipping with agent files and skills that basically will tell AI how to work with this framework.
Okay.
So that's a thing.
But if I want to know what the heck Mix is beyond their flashy entry page here, and I go to docs and I can't search for Mix to see what the heck it is, how am I going to properly prompt my AI unless I'm passing it to AI and being like,
you're not part of that.
Please
that
tell me how to use this. Let me spend some tokens. Tell me how to use this. Like, I got eyes. I can read.
So I am talking to Claude now, and I'm going to ask it what the mix prop is in Remix 3 beta, this code base. So let's get into the code a little bit, because one of the things about the generated app is it creates this .agents file, .agents.md, and then it also creates this .agents folder. But one thing you'll know is Anthropic has not bought into agents yet. They want it to be called Claude and like .claude.
Yeah.
So I forgot about that, and I'm using Claude to prompt it, and it like couldn't find those things. But eventually, I got it to look in the right spot.
Yeah, your Claude file should only say, "Please look at agents.md."
Yeah. So Claude is telling me Mix is a JSX prop that applies styles created by CSS. So what's funny is it didn't read the docs. It just looked at the code base, and my code base only applies styles. So this is actually wrong. So I think there needs some work needs to be done. I think because right now the docs website also is just API docs, right? I keep losing it. Here it is. It's not a guide. It doesn't tell you how to build an app or like how to assemble these things. It's the API documentation for all of the internal components that they wrote. So they have like an auth component, they have a database component, they've got things for server-side requests and sessions, and then they have like a whole UI library as well. But yeah, I will say this is beta, it's early days. It's likely that better docs and searchability and things like that are coming. So
yeah. Just give me a freaking search bar. That's it.
That's all I ask for.
Well, then I'll show you
search bar. The humans can read the skills.
Or if you're expecting AI for this, then put an AI search, AI doc thing. I always like it when apps have an AI docs. Oh yeah, sorry. Someone's asking for a peace sign. Here's a peace sign. This is live, folks. I always like a little AI search docs thing, especially when the text search isn't working as I'm expecting it. So I don't know. Yeah, just give me at least that.
All right.
Come on.
But I have to show you something cool on the site. If you do the Konami code, so up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start, we get rainbow mode.
Whoa.
They could have spent the time they did to make this to put a search box in the docs.
Yeah. That's our main feedback is search box. Okay, but I'm almost done. I'll show you what I built. So I rebuilt a Hacker News client.
Oh,
because
cool.
I built this same thing with Solid.js and with Next.js to kind of compare them. And like I said, I'm still wrapping my head around this framework because it's nothing that I'm used to. But one thing I will say is it's no data is transferred like at all. So like 188 kilobytes for an entire page load. And then as I navigate around the site, there might be a few extra downloads, but most of that is just the data itself, like the comments and the list of things. Like it just doesn't use that much data. So that's the one cool thing about it. The other thing is it's not based on Vite. There's no build process. Like when you deploy this, you just set node env to production and point a node server at it. There's no bundled files. The production server just runs on top of your exact source code. So like that's another cool aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that it's so DOM based. I
Yeah.
I feel like we're returning to the DOM here, and I love that. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's why AI is so good at it, is because it's entirely DOM based. Variables are like, state is simply just variables. One thing I don't like is that you have to manually render the updates yourself. So you have to you have to run that, what was it, handler.update function to actually re-render it. But I don't know. I guess you could hook that up to like a watcher or a signal or something like that, and then just programmatically run the update when some values are done. I just went and got my remix CD.
Oh,
I was
sick.
at the like
Oh,
remix
nice.
announcement, and I'm a big fan of it. We did a show of it. It makes a lot of sense. Like I feel like even just after spending like 10 minutes looking at the skills, not the docs, because there are none. I feel like I could probably jump in and build this. I think the whole idea with the mix is that they're mix-ins, very similar to
Sure.
very
Yeah.
first React days, where we had like React.create class. And those mix-ins can do things like add event listeners, listen for mount, listen for update, listen for unmount, right? We had component did update, component did mount. And like
That feels
yeah.
just like attach to me, or the in Svelte there's attach. It used to be use.
Yeah.
Wes, you remember use, where you can basically add custom directives. That's really what it feels like to me. I like it. I do like that they have an emphasis on UI patterns too, baked in, like cooked in UI things. So
Yeah.
I feel like that is the direction we all need to be moving.
The like this, so that obviously this is like a JavaScript framework itself, but the last I heard, the idea was that they would also have database, auth,
UI components.
UI components that look good, like basically the whole shebang. Is that what this has now with shipping?
It does. I haven't played around with that. So this Hacker News clone is purely talking to a Hacker News API. I don't have a database of my own.
Yeah.
But if you look in their docs,
Oh yeah.
they have sections for it. And actually, one thing I'll show you in terms of docs is if you look at the agents files. So these skill files with references talk about these were the doc. Like I read these. I'm a human and I read these markdown files because if you look at like data and validation, it kind of looks like they re-implemented Drizzle. So you import table and column from remix/data table. This looks a whole lot like Drizzle. We're very familiar with this. And then same thing for like connecting to the database. You have your raw driver, and then you pass that in to create database from remix data table. In terms of validation, they re-implemented Zod. So there is a email min length max length from remix/data schema. And again, this is like a Zod object. So I don't know how I feel about that. Like this one MD file shows it. Like if I were building this app, I would just use Zod and Drizzle because at this point they're pretty battle tested. But I'm sure they have the reasons. I think when you own the stack in this way, there's a lot more you can do in terms of like invalidation of data, like automatically. Like if it knows about the data model, it's possible that like when going to after you create something with a post request, it can automatically potentially invalidate that on the client because it's so intertwined. I don't know if it does that, but I could imagine it could do that because it's in control of everything. So yeah, they have that. They have auth, sessions. Yes.
Man. So I think it was last year, one of our predictions for Remix. I had two predictions. One was that they were going to build something that was like an AI first framework. And obviously I think I nailed that. And the other one was that this is for Shopify, because Shopify's got to be looking at like this programmatic web, and like people want to like vibe stores, right? Or vibe software that can sell stuff. And I don't know if that is entirely it. I don't know if they're intentionally making this for Shopify, but certainly something that is very vanilla JavaScript heavy, is not reliant on other external packages, and is a small enough surface area that will fit into like the context of an LLM, and it can kick out stuff without having previous training on it. I think they probably nailed that. I'm curious to see like who and what type of apps are start to be built with this.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like I'm seeing the vision, but I'm trying to understand it myself. And because like as a developer, I have to change the way I think about building an app entirely, right? Like I'm not, at least like as a JavaScript developer, I'm not building my stack from scratch. I'm not choosing all the libraries. I have to learn the ones that they want me to use. We don't have React on the front end anymore, so like there's a lot to take in as a developer. But I think the using AI will help with that because AI is going to be writing most of the code. I guess is their intention. So yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes. Definitely.
Yeah. It's super interesting. It's one of those things that I would love to dive into and have some time on. And it's just, it almost feels like I just never have a free minute to check it out. That's like the one thing that it's like, it just keeps getting pushed down on my list of things, specifically because it is a new framework and that does take a bit more buy-in, I think, than like throwing in a library somewhere or something.
Yeah. There's just so much stuff being released literally every single day, and like right now, like attention is what everybody wants. Like that's why I get emails like 6 times a day from people offering me money to post about their thing. And I won't do it for everyone listening, but like everybody is building amazing stuff, and nobody can get anybody to care because it's just attention is so spread thin right now.
Yeah, I know it is crazy. The amount of emails I deleted today for AI tools that I'm probably never going to hear about ever again. Post that email that I got. It's crazy. Yeah.
Nice. That's all I got. I've been talking too long. I got more code to show, but I think we can move on. So,
all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sick. Cool. Well, again, folks, if you're just joining us, this is Syntax Weekly. We're going to be doing this weekly where we each share items, blog posts, tools, libraries, all kinds of stuff that we like, stuff that we're interested in. We're going to chat about it. Also, drop something that you want to hear us talk about down below in the chat, and we will get to a user-submitted link if we have one available.
Yeah, and this is live right now. It's happening. We're here.
It's live. It's happening. We're available. Yes.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Subscribe on YouTube if you haven't, and like this video. We would appreciate that. Also mentioned we're going to be live in Amsterdam. So if you go to jsnation.com, you can get tickets for JS Nation, but we'll be live the day before JS Nation. All 3 of us will be there in person. We'll do a live show. We'll have time to hang out, free merch. It's going to be a good time.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. Well, I guess I can get into it, guys, if you want me to get ripping on mine.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. All right, let's share this bad boy. Oh, and we're going to be posting our links on the Syntax Daily Dev squad here. So we will have our links available here. That way you can check out whatever we're talking about during our live show. So my link today is maybe predictable. It's a local first platform. I love myself a local first platform, local data. Not only that, sync engine, those types of things as well within my wheelhouse. And this one is Jazz at jazz.tools. And this thing rips, okay? So they're in alpha. This is the V2 for alpha. So if you're into trying alpha software, this is, I am. This is something to check out. I think this Jazz Tools nailed it. So for those of you who haven't been up on local first software or anything like that, a lot of these tools, they either require a lot of buy-in and then host everything on their own servers, or maybe they're too complex. I have a theory about local first software, and that it's the problems that you're solving with a lot of this stuff are so complex, and you have to be so smart to solve them, that the people who put out the products aren't dumb enough to realize what the dumb people hit when they use them. And then therefore everything feels like this is too complex, or this isn't there's too many edges, right? There's too many individual services. And like one of the things I really liked about Zero, which is the sync platform that I like, is that you can have your own database, you have your sync layer, and then you have your site. The problem is that you end up now I gotta put 3 services somewhere. Now I gotta worry about three separate things. Now I gotta handle all the state changes between that. Now I'm writing the code essentially that updates the server side and the client side, when in reality I want something a little bit more like Firebase perhaps, or things that feel a little bit more RPC like in that way. But Jazz really nailed a lot of those things, and by having the sync, the server, everything just kind of wrap up in a nice little package here. Like for instance, a nice small quality of life thing. You start a Jazz site and you don't specify a server address. It just spins one up for you and connects it. Or it sets it to an env variable that will connect it. If you want to run it on your own, you can just run it on your own. You want to run it in the cloud, you can run it in their cloud if you want. So they make it really easy to get going. It's, again, bringing me back to the dream of Meteor, that like it just works when you start it.
Okay, can I ask a question before you keep going? Because I'm having a hard time understanding where this fits in and like what it is. Is this a database? Is this a JavaScript library? Where along the local first buy-in is this thing?
It's a database that syncs. It's the database that syncs. It uses SQLite as the database, and it's your ORM, it's your sync layer,
Okay.
it's the database, it's all of that stuff. And what's cool about Jazz specifically that other maybe libraries don't think about is that this is very true to real local first, Wes. So if you wanted to have only local data, no cloud sync, nothing, just only local, very possible. You want to have local data, but then when you sign up for an account, it syncs that account information to the cloud. Super easy. So it really does feel like that dream of actual local first software is very attainable with this. And it works well with just about all the stuff. There is no Vue.js library, but there is, works easily. Well, it says it works well with Vue and whatever, but if you go to the client, oh no, I guess there is a Vue library. Maybe
Scott,
I didn't see this
can
last time.
I just pause? Just technical. Okay. Technical. We couldn't see your screen until just now.
Oh,
okay.
Okay. No, it's
cool.
all good. My bad on that, folks. There's a lot of stuff I was talking about that was on screen, like it's saying it's the database that syncs.
Okay, good, because I was kind of like, that's why I was asking, what the hell is this, Scott?
It's all right. It's all good. Okay, so it works nicely. Really nice API. You just basically give it a provider. Again, they have an adapter for Svelte, Vue, Expo even, so it works well with React Native or just straight up TypeScript. You get super easy subscriptions. You can even control down to when you're like reading or writing data, like, do I want to wait for this to hit local? Do I want to wait for this to hit edge? Do I want to wait for this to hit the global database before resolving that promise? So you have a lot of control over all of that. The server is super easy to run. You're just running, you're either connecting to their cloud server or you're just running just straight up in Node, super easy. As far as concept goes, I mean, it's just straight up normal standard schema stuff. You write your schemas. There you go. You got migrations baked in here, and you validate your schemas, and then from there, it's like I said, it feels like the dream of Meteor in many ways to me, where you are just and in fact, actually, let me show some real code. This is permissions code. Okay, let's show. So this is a fairly complex query with several reverse relations. So nested and reverse relation. So I'm saying, hey, give me the shows where the status is live, order them by when it starts at, and include This is a reverse relation, ticker messages via show. Give me a reverse relationship of audience submissions via show. And of course, that is also going to have a reverse relation inside of it as well. And so again, this loads your local data super duper fast. It will hit the edge. This tier global means it's going to wait for it to hit the network. And it's super cool. And yeah, I really, really like working in this. Another neat thing that I like about it is that they have docs for auth and permissions, whether that is just straight up only local first auth or working with something like Better Auth or a third-party library. They have, I believe it's, is it Work OS and Better Auth are the two they have examples of. The Better Auth one is just like a Better Auth plugin that connects in here, and then spits out a Better Auth schema. You can use Better Auth, you can use your OAuth, all that stuff, and it just works. It's really, really good. One thing I really like about this is that they've taken a lot of like Rails-like ideas where there's magic in here. And some people might not like magic, but there's enough of like magical little things in here. Like, for instance, this ticker messages via show. This object property is created simply by having a schema that has a reference. So active lower, let's find a good one. Okay, so the show host table has a show host ref, and then therefore I can then access the show hosts if I query the show table, show hosts via show. Like that is all generated just based on the fact that this is a show ID with the reference of shows. So really slick developer experience, like
That's
really
nice.
slick developer experience.
And
can you talk a bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm curious about the data store itself. So like this is running on a server somewhere to run the sync server, and I guess you are you using SQLite, or do you have an option to choose what your actual data store that it's syncing with is?
Yeah, data store SQLite. You don't have an option to choose.
Okay.
But you can see there's an inspector here. So this is like the live data. Yeah, you can access this data when it's running locally. Again, it's just storing that. You can change the storage location if you want or whatever, or you can just use their default one, which is living in a cache folder that you could nuke anytime you want. But it's SQLite, so you can just access it very easily.
So, like, where are you hosting the sync server then?
The one that I am for this site, the Live Tools site. I'm hosting that on their own server, so their cloud server.
Okay.
So they have a cloud server platform that's really easy. You just connect to it,
but you should be able to, like, it looks like the sync layer is a Rust binary that you can run via PNPM, like Node. So you should be able to host this
run it via PNPM.
Like, and it would have to be like a long running server, right? Like this wouldn't be in serverless functions, would it?
Yeah, I think in general, sync servers are always going to be long running. I don't know specifically if that's possible or doable without it, but I would almost always run a long running host. But yeah, super easy. Yeah, you can just run it via NPX and it's up.
Cool. Which you probably could get this running in like a durable object on Cloudflare, but I'm curious what the price of that would be to have it just running all the time, or at least when it's needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This is the type of thing that'd be easy to host on something like Railway or any place that has straight up normal node hosting or anything like that. If that's for your sync layer in your database, or you can, again, just if you want to pay, use their cloud platform is nice. If you don't, then you can host it yourself relatively easy. I found it to be really nice. And honestly, I think one of the things they nailed in this is giving you control where you need it, like for instance getting to choose when you're waiting on that data or those types of things, or even like permissions, and that you get all the control you need. But to get up and running, it's like really, really easy and minimal code, really. Honestly, it feels like that whole only give me what I need when I need it kind of thing. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Can you, I'm curious to see it compared to things. So you recently have done a lot of work with Zero, not Zero Config, but like Zero, the other sync framework. And I see a chat mentioning, can you compare it to Convex? I don't know if you use Convex, but yeah, how would you
Yeah.
say does it compare to some of these other sync tools or like full stack data type tools?
Yeah. So comparison. So okay. So let's talk about Convex. So Convex, they had a whole big blog post about how they were going local first and all this stuff, and then they never did it. And then I like pinged them on their Discord a few months ago. It's like, hey, is this local first product ever coming out? And it didn't. And so they've kind of, as far as I know, they have shifted away from wanting to do that. This does take a lot of lessons from Convex. There are some things, though, I didn't necessarily love about Convex, like the development flow of it personally, but the UI or the not the UI, the developer experience for fetching your data and auth and those types of things feels very Convex like. I personally like this better because I like the local data piece. And to me, like Convex doesn't have enough of a sell for me. Like, why would I pick up Convex over something else? Where this does have that unique value proposition.
Nice.
But
And I
similar
guess
developer experience like strategies, right? They want these things to feel good like that.
nice. But I guess also compared to Zero, because the whole Mad CSS
Yeah.
challenge platform was built with Zero, right? Could you see yourself using Jazz to build the same thing?
Yes, I could see Jazz to build the same thing. The because they really fit the same niche in that way. The thing that I liked about Zero and still like about Zero is that it can connect to any Postgres database. And if you are like you have a site is Postgres and you want to throw Zero on top of it, that's something you couldn't do with Jazz, right? But if I'm building something from scratch, then this scratches that same itch, so to say. And it's a little bit less effort to do the same kind of thing. So I could absolutely see the Mad CSS stuff being built in this. Yeah, no weirdness there, issues there.
Nice.
Yeah, I kind of like it's tricky because like you kind of just want to get it up and running right away, and you want it to be a little bit more batteries included in some cases. But then like other cases you do want to bring your own, or you may
Yeah.
have an existing database. You may want to use Drizzle, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this I wouldn't need to use Drizzle with this because there's migrations baked in, the schema
Yeah.
is baked in, the queries are baked in. There's like nothing that I would need Drizzle for here. And the thing I like about that is it's one less piece that I have to manage, right? I don't have to manage my Postgres database. I don't have to manage a separate sync server. I don't have to manage an ORM and an auth library. I just
Yeah.
have Jazz, my UI, and my auth library if I
But
want
can
it.
you use Jazz on the server? Like this seems like a real time client side thing.
Oh, buddy, yeah. So you can absolutely use it on the server. Yeah, you can just In fact, that's how the auth stuff works, Wes, is that I have essentially a server-side route in my Svelte Kit app that is
Yeah.
writing to the same database. So, yeah.
Okay. So if you wanted to query something just as a regular ass database, no
Regular
local
ass.
first, no
Yeah.
syncing, no WebSockets, just
Yep.
want to list things out. You have access
And even
to that.
by
Okay.
default, the queries aren't reactive or subscriptions. You have to use the subscription to
Okay.
get
You got to
reactive
opt into
data.
that when you need it.
Yeah, you
That's
opt into
nice,
the
actually.
reactive data. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
And I like I said, like yeah, this if you were to just do this, the DB where whatever, like that is a non-reactive query. And then there's subscriptions if you want them, and then each of the different libraries, whether it is Vue, Svelte, React, whatever, have their own. Like the React version of that is use all to do a subscription. The Svelte is to use a new query subscription, and the Vue version is also just a use all. So really nice.
UT Jazz.
Yeah, Jazz.tools, man. I've been really this is the second
You've been
thing
jazzed?
Yeah, I'm jazzed on it. This is the second thing I've built with Jazz. The first thing I built was our user studies website that we did for our date pickers video. So I got 2 sites down with Jazz, and I'm feeling jazzy for sure. Sick.
Oh,
Cool. Did
jazz
we
hands. You
have
guys couldn't see
any?
me earlier. I was
Yeah.
doing jazz
Oh,
hands.
you're doing jazz hands. Okay. I was. Do we have any submissions, any user submissions? Is there anything you all would like us to check out? We have some stuff going on in the chat, but is there anything anyone would like us to check out on this stream? They can't.
Yes, you can't share links on YouTube, but if you just type the thing, we'll look it up. Like I'll mention earlier, someone said Hono Inertia. We could talk about that. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. Someone's asking about the Fluent Agent harness. Not sure what that is.
Actually, one cool thing that Jazz, I'm sure, actually, I think Scott's already working on this, is that it would be cool to have like a syntax autofam/submit. And you could just pop your link in there and they would, you're working on that, right, Scott?
It exists. You can vote. But we are having some issues with the overlay. So people will be able to vote easily on what they want to see. And we even have like a little overlay.
It's a perfect use case for like real-time ORM database like this.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Cool. What else?
How about we so let's what's the word?
Open source.
Yeah, rapid fire. I'm gonna pull up a few tabs and then I'll share my screen.
Okay. Fluid agent harness is not pulling up anything useful to me. Fluid. That's what it's called?
They shared a link. Flu. F-L-U-E. Flu framework?
Flu. Oh, okay. The agent harness framework. This is, I believe, from... Is this from Fred? Who's this from?
Yeah, from Astro Team. I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. I don't know much about Zed, but you have used Zed, right? Scott, are you still using Zed?
I use Zed a lot, yeah.
Oh, okay. So they just reached 1.0.
Yeah, I like Zed a lot. Zed is great. And there are things I love about Zed and things I like less about Zed. For instance, the like autocomplete order, if you're doing like Emmet, does their choice of the CSS property before the Emmet completion? So I thought like, especially for mad CSS, I found myself auto-completing a lot of things poorly. The developer extension thing, submitting and updating your extensions, is all done through GitHub sub repos and stuff, and I found that to be a pain in the butt. But the app itself it runs really smooth, and if you're looking for an editor that doesn't use up as much CPU, Zed is certainly that. I really like the way it looks, and I like the way it feels, and I can configure it to be as good as VS Code. But I will say I have been using VS Code again as my primary text editor lately. So I think when Mad CSS happened and I was frustrated with that CSS property stuff, I just went back to VS Code and have kind of stuck there. But that's kind of how I operate anyways.
You know, one thing in VS Code is the highlighting of nested CSS has not been a thing for, like, it's been broken and like kind of half done for years. And I've been shepherding it. We donated to people who could work on it. And it finally was merged. So we'll probably see nested CSS syntax highlighting in VS Code in the next probably month or so. I am so excited. I've been like working on that issue, been like, any updates? What's going on? Pinging the people, making some noise about it for like 2 years.
Amazing.
Yeah, so for instance here, I opened up Zed and I typed in MB for people who use Emmet. That would typically be a margin bottom. But margin bottom is like the 10th thing on the list of autocompletes. The first one it chooses to do is mix blend mode. Like, okay, how often am I using mix blend mode compared to margin bottom? So I would love for them to figure that part of it out. But Zed is a great editor. And like I said, I really like the UI. Cool things about this is it's built in... What is their GPUI, which is a Rust framework
I think that's it.
For
yeah,
doing GPU based UIs. So it doesn't use web tech for UIs; it uses Rust, and I have found that to be very nice.
I was looking at this. I was building a Rust based desktop app. I used a thing called eGUI, But you turned me on to
Mhm.
this GPUI, which is their framework that they built so that they could build Zed.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Zed folks are also really sharp too. Really great team of devs over there. So I have faith that this thing is just going to continue to get better. And again, I do really like it. Maybe I'll get back into using it.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. It's 1.0.
Let's talk about Warp. It's now
Yeah.
open source. So Warp, famously the like terminal that was very good experience. And it got some like hate because you had to sign in early on, and unfortunately, I don't think they've shaken that thing. And
Yeah.
and I remember talking to Zach, like probably like a year ago, and he's like, "I think the terminal is going to be the place where we like work with agents." Like I don't think we need to be an editor IDE. And I was just like, no chance. Like, there's no chance that you're going to move out of the editor. And like he called it, man. Like everybody's working in these tools that are not IDEs anymore. And Warp's kind of gone in that direction of trying to like force it into being not just a terminal, but like an agentic experience. You can use Cloud Code with it. They have their own thing called Oz. But one interesting thing they did was they've open sourced all of Warp. Because they're saying that like the actual writing of the code is no longer the hard part about building Warp. It's simply figuring out and writing the specifications for what should be built. And they want to open that up to the community to sort of chime in, which I absolutely love this approach, because there's so many times that I'm like so into a specific part of a product, and it's hard to get the people that work there to even understand or care about what it is that you're doing. And if somebody cares so much, like one thing I hate about Warp is the update button. It just puts this huge, ugly update now button on the top right-hand corner of Warp. And it drives me nuts. And I already went in there and looked, and somebody has already submitted a proposal to like change that in some way, or at least be able to dismiss it. And probably because they don't necessarily care about that. Or like the tabs in Warp suck. The design in Warp is not very good, and it's not very customizable. And somebody that maybe knows what they're doing and cares enough about it can kind of sort of chime in with that. I know people are going to be asking like, oh, use like Ghost TTT or what's the other one? Wes term. I can't shake the like. I love the like AI autocomplete and like the actual interface for typing inside of Warp. You can use your regular keyboard shortcuts. You can click where you want it to go. You can highlight and backspace. It's like an actual text editor. And then also it will like suggest things. Like if you type in something incorrectly, it'll be like, hey, do you want to run this command? Given the context of what folder you're in and what just happened and like all of these beautiful things, it's like autocomplete is no longer a thing. I want the AI ghost text that pops up.
Yeah, I agree with you. The thing I don't like about Warp is the blocks UI.
Yeah.
Can you turn off the blocks UI? If I could turn that off,
I
would.
love the blocks UI, but hold on, let me see if I can.
Blocks. Let me look. You don't have any blocks. What do you mean I don't have any blocks? Blocks. Show and jump. Show block dividers. Yeah, I don't want blocks. I don't want to be able to select blocks. I don't want them to exist.
Oh, I love the blocks because you can search inside of a block and you can copy the output of a block. Like this is a block right here, ls-l.
Oh, people can't see what you're showing, Wes.
I shared
because I think you shared your browser.
Share entire.
I almost never want to search inside of a block. I want to search inside of a term, like a whole
term. I want to search inside of what just happened. The output of whatever just happened. I want to search inside it, especially when you're like streaming stuff. I don't want to search the last run of this. I want to search this run.
Yeah,
but
I guess
like,
that makes sense.
This thing right here, like I click on the block and it like gives me this awful color gradient on it. Like I hate that, right?
Let's see. What does yours do that? Mine doesn't give a weird, crazy
It's
gradient.
probably my theme, but then my theme, when you go to like build your themes, I don't even, where are the themes? They're somewhere in here. Anyways, when you go and like build the theme in Warp, they give you like 3 or 4 color inputs, and they try to derive the colors of the rest of it from there. And it just doesn't look good. I just want a lot more control over like the padding. I've been looking at Aaron Francis's solo term, which seems way better. I think it's a fantastic little product that he's working on. So I've been dipping in using that every now and then. But the AI autocomplete, someone else has got to figure that out.
Yeah. I think for Aaron's solo term was like trying to solve the issue of
sunscreen.
Of agents kind of spinning up infinite dev processes and those things getting lost. I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it has solved that issue or not, but I thought that was enticing.
It's simply the problem of, and Warp has tried to solve this with their side tabs, is like I want one terminal tab open for my agent. I want a second one open for like my just ls ling and moving around, npm installing stuff. And like I just want them like linked together. Or like I want to be able to like go back to that and have those 3 or 4 things. And I want logs, you know, like this sort of solves that. And I think it's a great UI for it.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron's got a good eye for this stuff.
Yeah.
Sick. Guys, what else do we want to talk about? Folks, we are just chatting about projects right now. We each brought 3 things earlier in the show that we are sharing. Now we're just kind of checking out stuff that people have shared with us in the chat.
Yeah. I'll also mention shout out daily.dev. I'm sharing my screen right now. This is where all the links are going to be from what we shared. So Scott talked about Scott talked about Jazz earlier. You can click on that. Wes, you need to submit your link. I talked about Remix. We just talked about Warp. So all of the links are available here. Shout out daily.dev. They kind of pushed us to start live streaming. They didn't know that they did, but you can thank them for the fact that we're live right now. We got our stuff in order and we're live.
Yes.
I can talk about
for some time.
I can talk about Inertia in Hono. I don't know if you guys are even interested in this. I'll do a 2-minute spiel. 2-minute spiel. Yeah. So if you're not familiar, Inertia is a protocol I believe is used by Laravel and a few other frameworks for how the front end can communicate with the back end. And they have a whole protocol of like data format where you have like components and props, and basically it's really built for backend frameworks that aren't JS that need to communicate with the JS front end. But recently, Yusuke, the creator of Hono, created an Inertia middleware so that you can now have client rendered routes from your Hono app. So I'll show you the example code. Like, so you write Hono code that looks like this, where you specify your routes. But then when you do render, this will actually do like a client-side render if this page is being visited from the client side, right? So the initial page load will be a server-side render, just like it normally would. But if you click between your app, Inertia is smart enough to be like, oh, the user's already loaded the app. We're actually going to replace not just replace the center of it and do like a client-side navigation. So it's a way of doing a full stack Hono app where you can have client components that are Hono JSX, but you get like single page application type behavior as well.
And like the server will simply just figure out, do I need to render the HTML or do I need to simply just send like the props that are updating, right?
Exactly. So I'll show the example site here. So we visit the home page. It has to request like home.tsx, and that's going to respond with like a whole like bundle and things like that. But if we click to the users page, we can see this Inertia request that actually responded with this data, right? And then this data was used on the client side to then render the page. But if we go directly to the users page, the data is embedded because that was a server-side render. So there's no extra requests there or anything like that. So it basically, you write code that looks like it's all SSR, but then it figures out how to do single-page application navigation in between.
That's Void is going to be like this as well. They said it's heavily inspired by Inertia. where it's all server, all server, all
Yeah.
time. You can't opt into like doing stuff in the client, but by default, it all is queried, and then the inertia router will simply just send the props over the wire and then update itself.
And it's interesting how similar in some ideas this is to like Remix, because like Hono has had their own GSX runtime for a long time, and so this code looks like React, but it's not. It doesn't actually load React on the page. It Hono has their own JSX runtime. So the interesting thing is, like, if you want to build a full stack app in this way, you only have to install Hono. You don't have a bunch of other dependencies. I will say, like, you can't use things from the React ecosystem because those depend on React. But at the same time, as these things start to get built into the framework itself, maybe you don't need extra stuff. But I don't know. It's another approach.
And
Inertia is another one of those things I've never really checked out.
It's Canadian.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's too many projects.
Stony in the chat says the magic of Laravel finally rubbing off on the JS ecosystem.
Yeah, I know.
There's a lot of lessons to learn there. I do believe Adonis JS is based on top of Inertia as well. This is the full stack framework for Java. It's supposed to be like the Rails or the Laravel of JavaScript. I haven't built anything with it. I keep hearing about it though. I just never built anything with it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Is there anything else we want to share here, guys?
I think that's all I got.
I was just thinking, like real quick, like, I'm pretty sure Hono has re-implemented most of the React hooks in their JSX implementation.
They have, yeah.
Yeah, they have like use state and stuff. So in many cases, you probably could use existing. They've right here, hooks compatible with React, right? Use state, use effect, use ref, use callback, use start transition, et cetera, et cetera. There's probably 50 of them. So it's pretty close implementation of React. So especially like AI can probably write code that looks a lot like React, but just uses the Hono implementation. This is the one thing that has been killing me with Hono, is that I always used to reach for Hono, and then I needed some client side thing, and then I ended up having like an API server and then another Vite server, and then I was running two things, and then I realized I should probably have a framework, and it just kind of got out of hand. I just want like one start command and for it to just work. So this is exactly what I've been wanting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I have one.
Yeah, go for it.
I got one small thing that may have gone underneath the radar a little bit. SvelteKit added live remote functions. So they added a query.live for accessing real-time data from the server. So basically, if you haven't used Svelte remote functions, you're basically writing essentially like a server-side function and then being able to use that function in your client-side code very safely for both modifying and querying data. And with query.live, you can now do real-time data baked directly into SvelteKit without having to do anything beyond having a query.live on the remote function. And then you import that function, you get it here, and now that is a reactive data store. There's even a reconnect property as well. So I think it really interesting that they baked this in here. I don't know how many other frameworks have a real-time data function.
Oh, that's amazing, really, because if you think about, I want to implement live data from the server to my client, then you're looking at WebSockets or server sent events, which it probably uses server sent events. If I'm looking at the example here, it doesn't say what it uses, but you have to, that's like an implementation detail. In this case, you just simply use the data. You can just loop over it, and it will be updated in real time. Maybe we don't need Jazz, Scott.
Yeah, this is a different problem that this is solving. But I for real-time data, yeah, absolutely, real-time data, this rips. And I think what's cool about this is that for a long time, people have been like, build in WebSockets into SvelteKit, build it in, and instead of just giving you like a WebSocket URL or something like that, that's like this is such a nicer, more ergonomic thing than having the user have to care about whether that is server sent events or WebSockets or whatever. It's just query.live, and then you get access to the data live. So shout out to the Svelte team for just, I feel like everything they add is like this. Paulo says, this is also not using WebSocket. Paulo, tell us what it's using, because I believe you worked on
server sent
this.
events?
Yeah.
Okay.
Likely.
But
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't listening, Wes. Maybe you said this, but and this is cool because I think the API itself looks cool. You don't have to worry about creating a new WebSocket connection or listening for events or creating a server sent event, like event emitter thing. Like the code, just like they did with remote functions, now you do the same thing with live data, but you just yield the response. So that's sick.
It's just one way, right? Like this is not like you wouldn't build a chat room in this, but this is probably for things like streaming AI completions. As the thing is being generated, then you can just kick it out the other end, right? You want to be able to show what it is that the LLM is generating as it's being generated. You don't want to sit there and wait for it to be finished, otherwise it's annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, Paolo says it's just a GET request, but that's SSE, right? If you just leave the GET request open.
Yeah. It's probably not polling.
Yes.
It's got to be server sent events. Or the new, I don't know, there's a proposal for like a new streaming standard as well. It could be web streams, right?
Maybe.
Who knows? There's lots of ways to do live stuff in the browser. What's the difference between server sent events and polling? Polling is a like requests in the browser are stateless, or requests in HTTP are stateless, right? You send a request, you get a response. You send a request, you get a response. A server sent event, you send a request, and then you essentially the request will tell you that it's server sent events, and you can sort of like listen and get data. The request stays open for as long as there are things. There's like a time limit. I think it's like 10 minutes or 20 minutes or something like that. But you'll just get little pieces of data sent to you from the server as it's made available and as it's sent off from the server. And then like a WebSocket's a little bit different, where that would be like a two-way street where data can be sent back and forth.
Two-way street. Yes. All right, folks. Anything else before we get out of here?
I have a bunch of stuff to share before we get out of here. Like if you want to pull up my screen share, Randy. Also, shout out to Randy, who's been scene switching this whole time. You guys have been enjoying the fruits of his labor. But yeah, check out daily.dev. We super appreciate them for pushing us to go live stream. All the links we shared today are going to be in our Syntax squad, so definitely join the Syntax squad as well. I'll share the link in the chat. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We release 2 podcasts a week, videos every Friday. I release videos every now and then as well. Watch us on YouTube. When you're done watching this, go listen to Syntax. We have recent episodes, syntax.fm. Go listen to Syntax. And if you want to see us in person, head to jsnation.com. We're doing a live event on June 10th, so the day before JS Nation. But they're helping us out. It's going to be in the area where you pick up your badge. But a full live show, we'll all be there in person. We'd love to meet you. We'll have like a networking thing and like free swag and stuff like that. It'll be great. Anything else we should shout out or say while we have everyone's attention?
That's it. Peace.
That's it. Later, guys.